In this video, we'll take a look at the basics of TypeScript. I have gone about explaining how you can install TypeScript, and I have shown an example of how JavaScript will be and how TypeScript will be, and what are all the differences that you can notice with the TypeScript. Also, I've explained about what is a TypeScript compiler and how you can create a JavaScript file from a TypeScript file, and also how you can use TS node and the TS configuration, which is the TypeScript configuration file in detail. If you are new here, consider subscribing. Let's get into the video. Let's take a look at how we can install TypeScript. So there are two ways of installing TypeScript. One is global, the other one is local. Now let's type in npm install TypeScript. So this is the local way of installing TypeScript. So when I say local, this will be restricted to this particular project that you have this installation on. So here, even though we have installed TypeScript, we'll not be able to find this version out because you'll have to point to the right place where your executable file is there. So for that, we can use the help of npx, which will help us find that out. So as you can see, we have installed TypeScript locally on our machine. Let us now see how we can install this globally. Before we proceed, let's verify if it is present. tsc-v will not give you any value. So what you can do is like npm install TypeScript -g. So usually this is how people expect, but this will throw an error because you don't have the necessary privileges. So you'll have to put in sudo npm install TypeScript globally -g. So once you give this particular command, you'll be asked for a password. So give your system password. Now once that is installed, what we can do is we don't need the help of npx. We can straight away see tsc-v will give us the version of TypeScript that we want. So we have seen how we can install TypeScript in both the ways, local and global. Let's now get into the next part. I will now create two different files. One is sample1.js, so that is a JavaScript file, and also I will create a sample2.ts, which is a TypeScript file. I have some scripts to showcase the shortcomings in JavaScript. So as you can see, what I'm trying to do is I'm comparing 0 to null, and I'm expecting this condition to go false and print this particular statement. And also here I'm expecting a value of x to be between 11 and 3, whereas that is not the case. So it has to print, I expect this to be printed. So now let's save this. It doesn't stop us from getting executed. So let's just run the script sample1.js. So once you do, it just prints it is not what we were expecting. And also for this particular condition, it is not printing what we expected. So the reason is JavaScript has some limitation in terms of how it behaves, and all these shortcomings are being dealt with in TypeScript. Now let's copy the same code and put it in a TS file. And as you can see, straight away the moment you put it inside a TS file, there are a few errors that is being highlighted. The first one being you cannot compare a number with a string. So that is rightly being pointed out. So let's put in 0 is equal to 0. So then the error goes off. In that case, then I expect this particular statement to be printed. So let's replace this. And also I expect this not to be printed, so that we are clear in terms of what we expect. And the next thing is this variable is not defined or declared. So let's put in as variable. We just declare this particular value to be 22, and there is no statement like this. So what we can do, we can just close this bracket, and then we expect another condition to be displayed. So wherein like x less than 3, and let's wrap it with a single condition. Okay, so now what we'll see, there are no errors that is being shown, and there is a less chance of a bug going into production like we had with the JavaScript file. So straight away we'll know what are all the errors that is being shown. So let's just run the script. So sample2.ts. Yeah. As expected, I have received both the outputs in line with the expectations. Since x less than 3 is not a true condition in this particular situation. Okay, So now we have seen about how TypeScript helps JavaScript to be written better, but this isn't anything to do with TypeScript syntax. So what we'll do is create a new file. So touch sample3.ts. Okay. So we have created a new TypeScript file, and I have some sample code in TypeScript syntax. So this is just a simple additional function. So what we do here is just to add two numbers and then print the output. So let's try executing this directly like we did previously. Okay, so now let's instead of touch, let's put in node, and this we expected to give an answer, but it didn't. That's because so node doesn't understand TypeScript syntax directly. So for node to understand TypeScript, we need to have something else called a TS node, which is called a TypeScript node. So for that, first let's initialize this package. So we need the package .json and the node modules to be installed to work perfectly. So let's reinstall TypeScript, and there is a node for TypeScript called TS node. So once you install both of this, then it becomes a little easier. So here we have all the necessary libraries, and also the package.json has all the values that we need. So now we go ahead and say npx ts-node and then sample3.ts. So once you do this, what happens is we can expect the answer to be printed. So as I explained earlier, we were not able to run the TypeScript syntaxed TypeScript file with Node, whereas in TypeScript file you can have a JavaScript syntax and Node will work fine with that. So we don't have any issues. So just to prove that again, we can put sample2.ts and that will work. That's because sample2 has JavaScript syntax. So another thing that we need to understand here is the TypeScript compiler. So what does this TypeScript compiler does? So TypeScript compiler by default can be accessed with this command tsc, and this particular command, when executed against, let's say, a sample file, sample3.ts, will convert this TypeScript syntaxed file into a JavaScript syntaxed file. So you can see that there is sample3.ts, and after this compilation is complete, you will see a sample3.js which is having the same code in JavaScript syntax. Sample3 has been created, and if you click on it, you can see that the value, or like the file, has all the values in JavaScript syntax. So now you can see still JavaScript has its own problems. For example, if you go ahead and type like this, and this concatenation operation will still go ahead and give you invalid results, where if you go and say node sample3.js, and you will see the value as 510 where it should have been 15. And if you do the same thing here, if you go ahead and enter some particular value, okay, before we do that, you can see the IntelliSense in TypeScript. You have a function add already inside one of the JavaScript files, so it is throwing up an error that it is a duplicate function. So let's put in add1, and also the same thing with the variable. This has already been used, so we have to showcase the right values here. All right, so this has to be add1. Okay, so what happens now is that if you try to enter a value which is not number, then straight away you will see that it will be a warning, it's not of type number. So TypeScript doesn't allow you to kind of run this particular script, or like before you even go for running this particular script, we can straight away see there is a problem with the input that we have provided. Hope you got a fair idea of how you can create a TypeScript file and execute the file with the help of TS node, and how that can be converted into JavaScript files. So now we have to talk about another important thing, which is the TypeScript configuration file. So to get a TypeScript configuration file, all you have to do is tsc --init, And what this particular thing does is it creates a TypeScript configuration file, and inside that particular file we have quite a few features which has been listed out here. So not everything would be used for everybody, but you can take a look at what are all the options that you have to control TypeScript. So as you can see, we saw while compiling the sample3.ts, we got a code in sample3.js. This particular code could be of any JavaScript format. So the basic way is ES5. You can always go ahead and see that if you want the script to be converted into ES 2017, 2018 or 2019 or any different versions, you can do so with the help of this particular configuration file. As long as you have this tsconfig file inside the root folder, and then if you compile this particular ts file, then the corresponding files will be created accordingly. So you can take a look at all the options that is being available. You can prevent null checks, and there is multiple other things that you can do with this particular configuration file. Alright, and if this is not enough, and if you wanted to kind of understand TypeScript in detail, what I would recommend is you to go through this particular TypeScript lang.org and click on docs. So there you have quite a few links which you can refer to make yourself familiar with TypeScript in general. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please give me a like, and if you have any queries, add a comment. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And also, if you have not subscribed, please do so. That really helps me. I would be glad if you did. Thank you.